YouTube, I hope this video finds you guys doing well. If you don't know me, my name is Rosie and I'm a New Zealander who's living in Paris. I love doing videos on French culture, life in France, being an expat, New Zealand culture travel, and lots of other things. And today I wanted to do a video of some of the clear signs of when you know you're in France. They're often just these things that I've kind of only encountered in France, or at least encountered for the very first time here in France. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, so you know you're in France when people around you have an irrational fear of air conditioning. So it's August at the moment in Paris. We've been experiencing a heat wave, and you can probably tell just by looking at me because I've got the door closed in order to be able to film this video, and it's hot. But the French, I've noticed, just sort of seem to suffer through it because turning on air conditioning and installing air conditioning here doesn't really seem to be a thing. And I noticed pretty quickly that it's related to the thought that air conditioning makes you sick. And I've noticed this in general in France. There seems to be a kind of fear of a courant d'air, an air current. And the same kind of goes for the air conditioning. My colleagues or friends, family members say that when they're in air-conditioned environments, they get sore throats or sore necks, and there's really a general belief that it makes you sick. Maybe it's because if they install air conditioning, the air's gonna have to travel through some really old buildings and apartments, and they're worried about the microbes that it's carrying, or it's probably related as well to the change in temperature, so they don't like going from hot to cold. And I've noticed in France a lot you say, oh j'ai chaud, oh j'ai froid, and you talk about what current temperature you have quite a lot. And while I agree that, you know, air conditioning can allow germs or microbes to travel through the air to some extent, I don't believe that it's guaranteed to make you sick, because there are a lot of people living in air-conditioned environments in a lot of areas of the world, and people aren't sick 24/7. I don't think it's a direct link that if you experience air conditioning you will get sick. And I actually read a really funny article recently about this kind of French fear of air conditioning, and I'll link it down below if you want to read more about that. You also know that you're in France when you can only attend sales twice per year. In France, sales in stores are actually state regulated. So there are two major seasons when you go on sale, so around the summertime and around Christmas time. So I come from a country where sales happen at least every season, so once per season, and then for other special events as well. You've got Mother's Day, Father's Day, Valentine's Day, I mean, you name it, there can be a sale. And I guess in France, maybe what they're trying to do is regulate the amount of competition between stores. So, you know, fair's fair, you all go on sale at the same time. I found this to be a really interesting policy. It also means that I don't spend a lot, you know, the months leading up to the sale month, so because, you know, I'll sort of be there in April, May, and I'm like, well, I'm not gonna buy a single thing because I know that the summer sold, the sales are coming up soon. But it's just a really fascinating way of doing things, I think. Another piece of evidence that you're definitely in France is that you have to push a button to get out of buildings. So to get out of any apartment building, if you go to a doctor's cabinet, if you go to any building as such, there's usually a button labeled porte, door, that you have to press in order to get out. This took a lot of getting used to when I first arrived. The amount of times I was like trying to get out through the door, like just let me, just what's not working? How do I get out? And then you're like, oh wait, I have to press the button. Or the amount of times that I've not known which button to press and I've been turning on lights, or I've been buzzing people in their apartment, like bzzz. Oui, hello? Oh no, sorry. So if you find yourself stuck in a building in France, look for the magic button. Another sign of being in France, and I don't know if this is all European countries, okay, maybe let me know down below if this is the case, but I find the handwriting very particular. So French children actually learn very kind of script handwriting, you know, like cursive font. For us, we're actually just writing in very plain singular letters from the time that we're in school until much later, actually. Do we ever learn to write properly? I don't know. I think they tried to teach us at some point, but it didn't really work. So, I mean, if I'm writing, I'll just be like R, O, S, I, E. But in France, it's like R, O, S, I, E. It's very fancy handwriting. But you know, not all of us are very gifted when it comes to handwriting, and I often find the handwriting looking like just a scribbled mess. I mean, it's hard enough to read French as it is when you're learning the language, but the handwriting can be so scribbly. And you know how universally doctors have terrible handwriting, like there's just happens to be a thing? Well, in France, let me tell you, it's just the next level. I mean, sometimes I leave the doctors and I've got a prescription and there'll be like a line, like it'll be like, and I'm just like, how can anyone understand what is written on this prescription right now? And then the pharmacist takes it and they're like, oh, wait. And they just go and look for the thing. The next thing for me, where I know that I'm back in France, or at least Paris at least, is seeing these gorgeous little miniature French children. Honestly, I think they're barely walking. We're talking like 1-year-olds on scooters. Like, I've never seen little children so young with so much freedom and autonomy on their little scooters. They're just scooting around everywhere with mum and dad. I'm not sure if this is in, you know, other cities as well, or if it's just a Parisian thing, but they've all got this identical scooter. If I can find a photo of it, I'll try and put it here in the video. They're so independent and they're so impressive, and I can't believe that they're these tiny little things, and they're just scooting around the park, you know, on the pavements of Paris, and they're all independent, pushing themselves along, and I just find it so cute. I think in New Zealand, maybe we start scooting around like 4, 5, 6, not like 1 or 2. Cool guys, well, I'm gonna wrap up this video here. If you're not subscribed yet, you're more than welcome to join the Not Even French community. I put out new videos every single week. It's always a really fun time, so make sure to hit subscribe if you want to follow the action. Until then, I'll see you guys in the next video. A bientôt!